Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/prorevenge, where the revenge is usually very thought out. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and hit the notification bell. Doing these 4 things will cause the video to do well in the YouTube's algorithm. Now for our first video, we've got, try to get my team member fired. Well, I'll get you deported. I'm not sure if this is pro-revenge, so I'll let you all decide. If not, let me know and I'll move it. I will say in advance, sorry for the long one, but the backstory is relevant. Back in the early 2010s, I started working for a big internet-based company in the UK. The company was opening a new office with a subdivision in London. When I started there were 2 team leaders and the office manager. The 2 teams were the content team and the SEO, search engine optimization team. I was recruited to be the development team lead, that is, web development. When I was interviewed for the job, both the office manager and the SEO team lead were carrying out the interview. As you would do in interviews, when they asked if I could do this or that, I would respond, yes, of course, or, you would get a better result doing X, Y, or Z. So I got offered the job, and for the first year, there was so much going on. As well as building a team, I also had a portfolio of websites that needed to be redeveloped and redesigned. It was at this point that some red flags started to pop up. I would have the SEO team lead, we would call him Andy, come up to me and tell me I needed to do things the way he wanted. I would always push back and say no and give a reason why I was doing things the way I was. Andy would get irate and would complain to the office manager about me. When the office manager would ask me about it, I would explain what had happened and why I had said no, and the office manager would leave it there, because at the end of the day, I was the one with experience in web development, not Andy. This happened a few times over the first year, and then realized that the reason Andy was getting so irate was because he thought I would be a yes man to him. Sorry buddy, that's not who I am. So now that we have the backstory, let's get into what led to the revenge. Me and the team had been working hard to get 2 of the new websites completed, and I was due to show them off to the board before they went live. This company's head office was in another part of the country, and I had to leave the office in London at about lunchtime. So I arrived to the hotel that is across the road from the head office at about 4 p.m. and jump on my laptop to start going through the sites to run some tests. I was testing functionally, making sure the look and feel were correct, things like that. And then it happened. We found a major bug that caused a major issue with the functionality of the website. So it was at this point that I'm going to introduce the star of our story, Johnny, not his real name, but attached all the same, who was my senior developer. Me and Johnny working through the night, me in the hotel room and him in the London office, we finally fixed the bug. About 7 a.m. the following day. My meeting with the board was at 10 a.m., so after getting showered, fed, and over to the office, I started my day with 0 hours of sleep. I go into the meeting, and the first thing that's said is the CEO asking if I was okay. I had met him a few times, and he was a really nice guy. I explained we found an issue with the sites yesterday, and me and Johnny had worked it through the night to fix it before the meeting. Long story short, everyone was really impressed and loved the new sites. At the end of the meeting, the CEO pulled me aside and thanked me for everything, then told me to go home and get some sleep. It was a 3-hour train ride to London and then another hour home. I thanked him and went on my way. So after taking my team out for a well-deserved lunch to say thank you, the office manager then organized a night out for the whole office to celebrate on the following Friday. We started off at a fancy bar, not my sort of thing. I'm a man of cheap taste, and then everyone moves on to a small club. I go to the club for a bit, but then leave quite early in the night as I need to get a train home. I say my goodbyes and then head home. I come into the office on Monday and there's something going on. I speak with Emma, not real name, the content team leads. She does not know what's going on, but there are people from the head office, HR, and others. Then a few minutes later, all the team leaders are called into a meeting. We're all squished in one of the meeting rooms. There's an office manager, 2 members of the HR team from head office, and the 3 team leaders, including myself. So HR explained that there had been a complaint made against Johnny. A member of the SEO team, we'll call him Mark, had called Andy on the Friday saying Johnny had been making racist comments while everyone was out at the club. Both myself and Emma were taken aback. This was not like Johnny. On a side note, I feel the need to explain the races of the people involved. This is just for context and not an attack on anyone involved. Johnny, Emma, and I are white British. Andy is African, born in Britain, I believe, and Mark is Indian, once again, I believe. So this whole day was spent with HR doing interviews with other people that were there that night, and we all reconvened towards the end of the day. The results of the interviews were that no one had heard anything like what Mark was saying, so it was Mark's words against Johnny's, and this was not acceptable for Andy. He wanted Johnny fired and cried, "We could not have someone like this in the office." So both Emma and I looked at each other and thought that it was strange that he was so insistent on firing Johnny with no evidence. Both the office manager and HR agreed, and Johnny was let off with a warning and to be aware in the future about how things he could say could be misinterpreted. Life went back to normal in the office. That is, until about 2 months later. The story of what had happened had gone round the office, about 12 people. Then one afternoon I was pulled aside by one of the guys in the content team, and he said that he overheard Andy and Mark talking and thought I should know. We went into the meeting rooms and he laid everything out. What I heard made my blood boil, and I think I'd been in a cartoon, steam would have been erupting from my ears. He told me that the racism comment was faked and a plan that Andy had to attack my team because I would not bend to his demands. Him and Mark were on a call outside in the club. Andy was not there at night, and that is when he heard what they were doing. It later came out that their plan was to make the complaint against Johnny and get him fired, which would then lead on to Andy complaining that I was not fit to run a team if I let that sort of thing happen under my leadership. My first question was why didn't he bring it up with HR in the interviews? He said he didn't, but it was his words against both Andy and Mark. I thanked him for this and went on with what I was doing. I was angry. There was no way that was going to slide. But I knew that if I was going to go after him, I needed to have everything in place beforehand. I didn't tell Johnny what I had been told, and asked the guy that told me to keep it to himself for now. I didn't want Johnny to get pissed off and do something that would get him fired, or worse, to affect my revenge before I could dish it out. So I watched. I watched everything the SEO team did and didn't do, and then it happened. It was like angels had descended from heaven to deliver me the winning lottery ticket. The building we were in was a 3-story building with a main staircase, with a door on each floor to the offices. The stairwell also had led to a door out to the street. At the time, I was a casual smoker and used it to get a break from the screen and clear my head if something I was working on did not go well. So I walk out of the door to the office, then to the stairwell. And then who was it there? Mark, of all people. He's on the phone, and he goes on for a while as a sheet when he sees me. Now he's mid-sentence with the person on the other end of the phone as I'm walking past. He is forced to carry on the conversation. I overhear, and from what he's saying, I can tell that he's talking to a school or something like that. The conversation sounded like he's looking for information about applying, and about a visa. I thought it was a strange call to be having, and something was fishy about it. I had my suspicions as to what was going on, but nothing concrete at the time. A few days later, I was heading back up to the head office, and by that time we had a new office manager who lived near the head office, so was based there most of the time. When I got there, I dropped my things off at the hotel and headed over to the office. I went to his desk and asked to have a quick chat. I explained to him what I overheard Mark talking about on the phone, and said the company might want to look over his visa status. So a week went by and nothing seemed to happen. Then, BAM! He stopped showing up to the office. A few days later, I got told what happened by one of the other SEO team members. Mark had been fired with immediate effect for no longer having the correct visa to work in the UK. The company did not want to get involved in sponsoring a new visa for him. I don't know why. I started asking questions around the office, and I found out that Mark is from Dubai, and he was here on his wife's student visa. I also found out his wife's course had finished, and that left him with a small window of time to get a new visa. And that's when it all clicked. Now, there's some dodgy people in London and everywhere else, and they would set up these fake colleges that would sign people up to get visas and live to work at the UK. At some point before or after, this saw a program on this, and normally these were set up in tiny offices that you couldn't swing a cat in, let alone a college. They were used as postal address for the college, and they would charge a course fee to be enrolled, and thus be able to apply for a student visa. So what Mark was trying to do was get enrolled in the college, so he could stay in the UK and carry on working. I found out a few weeks later that Mark and his wife did have to leave UK and go back to Dubai because he didn't have any money coming in to pay for his new college course. Bye, Mark. When I found out that Mark had been let go, I pulled Johnny aside and filled him in on everything. He could not believe it and was stunned they would try to do that. I apologized to him as it was my fault that he had been targeted by them as a way to get at me. He would not accept it and said that I had gone above and beyond in defending him. Following on from this, I made it quite clear to Andy that I know what he and Mark had done, and I would not be forgetting it and to watch his back. I made sure to say it when we were not in earshot of anyone else. About 2 months later, Andy handed in his notice and left the company, never to be seen or heard from again. I have always told this story to some people over the years, and I have been asked so many times if I feel guilty for what I did, and I always respond the same way. I feel guilty that Johnny was wrongfully accused and targeted. I don't feel guilty about what I did to Mark. You don't mess with my friends, family, or team. Remember to like and subscribe the video and leave some emojis in the comments below. This way, the YouTube algorithm will notice this video and spread it around to other people. Thank you in advance, and let's get on to the next story, shall we? How I got kicked off the customer service desk. Hey all, I'm back with another crazy blast from the past from a big box smiley face store. This one happened back in 2000 when I was still a young, naive kid that only dealt with maybe 2 or 3 entitled people. I had yet to develop the 1,000-yard stare or the hard shell that came with working retail. So I'm working returns when a man about 30 or 35 years old, leading an employer that is wheeling up a large entertainment center. This thing is fully assembled and has ornate wooden details with a very lovely finish. In other words, it's something you wouldn't find at this kind of store. The man starts off very cordial with, "I want my money back. I thought it would fit in my living room, but it's too small." I asked to see a receipt or perhaps the box it came in. He had neither. So I called the manager of home furnishings to see if there was a similar one for a price and barcode, mainly because I doubt we sell anything like this. I asked the man if he'd like to have a seat while the manager checked for this entertainment center. Suddenly, the man begins turning red as he raises his voice. "Do I look like I need to sit down? Do you think I need to calm down?" I respond politely, trying to de-escalate the situation. "No, sir, I simply thought you might want to sit while you wait." I then smiled to help the next customer. His voice raised and pitched as he shouted, "Are you laughing at me? It's not funny!" I didn't respond as I attempted to help the next customer in line, but it was hard not to find it funny as this man was angry about me doing my job. We are required to smile and greet customers. The manager of furnishings returns and explains we have nothing similar to this item, and asks him where he bought it. The man's voice raises and pitches again, about an octave above his original sentence. "I bought it here. I want to speak to the manager." So the home furnishings manager asks him to wait while I contact the floor manager to come speak with this man. Meanwhile, the man is ranting in an ever-increasingly higher pitch. Useless employees making me wait. Can't do their jobs at all. Why the hell are you smiling? The last part's directed at me. He now sounds like a boy that hasn't had a voice change yet, and I'm finding it super difficult not to laugh. My co-workers, being veterans of perpetual nonsense, are barely reacting at all. The other customers are trying hard to stifle their chuckles and avert their gazes. This doesn't help, as the man has now reached a voice that sounds like an angry Mickey Mouse. Children are now stopping as they walk by with their parents, hoping to find out why Mickey Mouse was shouting in a store. I am now pretty red-faced. The customer I'm helping out is guffawing, and this man looks like he's about to explode like an overinflated balloon, and he sounds like he's sucked out enough helium to do it. Thankfully, my manager appeared and settled the man down. He pulled him away from the view of the service desk and returned to tell me to take a break and calm the heck down before returning to the irate customer. He was able to get the man to understand until he explained that we could not take it back without a receipt. The irate man growled at a similar pitch to a chihuahua before storming off, without his fancy entertainment center. I was told I was not cut out for working the service desk and was demoted to cashier. It took almost a year to develop the thick skin I needed to work retail, and the entertainment center was silently auctioned off to the workers to bid on, and the proceeds went to Children's Miracle Network. The children that benefit truly thank you, irate Mickey Mouse Man. I hope you have fun in your clubhouse. You know, the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed the stories I had for you. If you did, remember to interact with the video in the normal YouTube way. And I will see you all next time. Hasta la pasta, aight? Now I boop you. Boop! Fuck, that's not working. Okay. Boop! There we go.